Hey everybody, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through Zoho custom functions. So we're going to go through the drag and drop script editor. We're going to go through how workflows work within the CRM. And the main function that we're trying to accomplish today is we're trying to show you how to automate a lot of the processes that you're doing within your business, sometimes manually, which causes a lot of maintenance, a lot of inconsistency across your Zoho system or any CRM that you're using. So this is a really beneficial way to save you a little bit of time during the workday. So what we're going to do for this example is we're actually going to say that when you close a potential, mark it as closed one within stages, we're going to update the account type to a customer and the contact type to a customer. So with that, you're going to notice that in contacts here, I have a specific field called contact type. One of the values for this dropdown is going to be customer. That's what we're going to update programmatically. So how this is going to work is when a potential here is marked with the stage of closed one, we're going to programmatically get the account associated to that potential. So you'll have to have the account name filled out within that potential. And we're going to also programmatically get all related contacts. And when we get all of the related contacts, we are going to set the contact type to customer. So let's go do this. We're going to go into our setup, into workflow underneath the automation section. We're going to go into our custom functions. Within our custom functions, we're going to configure a custom function, and we're going to write our own custom function. We're going to do this from scratch. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to give this function a name, and we're going to do update contacts to customer. Usually give it a description too. This is really helpful later when you get really into the custom functions and you have 15 of them. It's really important to keep this organized. So we're going to say that when a potential is marked as closed one, update all contacts to contact type of customer. We're going to relate this to the potentials module, and this is very important because this is going to specify what fields we can actually pull into here. And with that, we're going to have to set a couple of parameters. Parameters are items that are going to be given to the custom function when we trigger a workflow. So this workflow is going to get triggered based on an action within a potential. So when we do that action within the potential, what we're going to want to do is we're going to pass in a couple of variables associated to that potential. And how we set that up is we go into edit arguments, and I'm just going to name this customer, and this is so you can reference this function in other functions. We're not going to go through that today, but it is useful. The name is the name that we're going to reference, and what we want to bring in is we want to bring in the account ID. The reason we want to bring in the account ID is we need the account ID to go out and get all of the contacts associated to that account when this potential is closed one. So we're going to say account ID, that's going to be the name of our parameter. We're going to find account ID within this drop-down menu here, and we're going to click done. What that's going to do is it's going to update our function name and give us this parameter, the account ID. So the first item that we're going to do here is we need to go out and we need to get that related contact information. So we have our account ID. We need to get all of the contacts related to that account. So Zoho made this really easy with call function. So we're going to grab call function over on the side here. We're going to drag it into the window. And what we're going to do is we're going to select integration tasks. We want the Zoho CRM service. The function that we want is we want to get related records. So what we're going to do is we're going to get related records from what module? We want the contacts. The parent module is going to be the accounts. So we want all contacts associated with the parent module of accounts. The record ID is the ID that we're passing into this function. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to pull in the account ID, and we want to get up to 200 because that's the max that Zoho will return. And we're going to our response variable. So this is the variable that we're going to be putting all of this information in. We need a reference later so that we can say, okay, we want to do something with all of the contacts. So we're going to put them in this variable so that we can grab them later and we can get their IDs and update them. So here we're going to say contacts. I'm going to click done. It's going to put us in here. Let's save and execute. Let's see if we have any errors. So you're going to notice that when you do have an error within your code, you're going to notice that it shows on the very bottom of the page when you click save. So we can see that we have an error in line 2 right now, the mismatch in the data type and for the function Zoho get related records. So it's obviously it's with this. And what it's saying is that there's an expected data type of a string, and it found the data type of big int. So what that is right here you will notice we have our account ID. The account ID is again pulling from this parameter that we're passing in. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that this account ID, we're going to convert it to a string. Really easy. You just have to remember that we want the record ID to pull in the account ID dot to capital S string, and then make sure you put the parentheses on there. We're going to click done. So we're going to save and execute. We're not going to do anything with this yet. I just wanted to make sure that that goes through and we have the correct code in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to info this statement. So I want to see what are we getting back when we say get related records within Zoho. We want to make sure this is right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in an info statement. And what this does is it prints out different items on the screen so that you can see them later. It helps with programming. What we're going to do is we want to print out the contacts, which is a map list. So we click on contacts up here. We get rid of all of the text default input that Zoho puts in there. We're going to click done. It's going to add in our info contacts. So now what I want to do is I want to click run, save and execute script. So now we need, when you say save and execute, what's going to happen? You're going to get a pop-up window, and in that pop-up window is that you're going to have to enter in any of the parameters that you've set. We need the account ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my tab for you to see here. We're going to go into an account, and I'll show you where to get that account ID. That account ID is if you go into your accounts. I'm just going to go to one that I've recently accessed. We're going to go to Cloud Bakers, and in the URL bar at the very top, you're going to notice the module, accounts, and the ID of that account. So here's your primary key that we need to use to reference that account. So when we go back to our function, we're going to enter the account ID, and we're going to click submit. What this is going to do is it's going to go into the Zoho CRM. It's going to grab all the contacts, and now you can see that the information that we get back. So we get back what's called a map variable. In this map variable, we have a bunch of information, all actually directly related to what's in a contact. So again, we got related records associated to Cloud Bakers, the account. So if we go down to one of the contacts, you're going to notice that directly within here, you can see all of these different items. So we have our contact name, we have our contact owner, we have our account name. These are all going to be mapped exactly as they're named here into this map variable. So we see our account name is Cloud Bakers. We see modified by, who it's modified by. We see first name, last name, all within this map variable. And how this works is we have two contacts within here. The first contact you're going to see, we have our braces up here. and the first contact ends right here where there's a comma, and then here is the second contact. So it pulled back 2 contacts within this call, and we can see all of the information that we get with it. A very important piece of information is going to be contact ID, because we're going to need the contact ID to update the contact type. Notice that first, so a comma separates each of these fields. Then we have in quotes the field name, then a colon, then the actual value. So we're going to use this to grab different information about this contact. So we're going to close. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, we want to do something with all these different contacts. So because this is a map variable that could actually return multiple items from the contacts module, multiple contacts, we want to iterate through the list. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to under the list manipulation features. We want to do for each element. We want to go through each contact within the map list that was returned, and we want to update it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select the list. It pulls up the list name that we already have here. We want the instance variable, so this is for what in contacts. And this is just for your own reference, so you can use this later. We're going to say for each contact in contacts. So for each individual contact in contacts. And what this is going to do is it's going to go through and grab each contact, and you can get specific information about that contact. So what we're going to do now is we want to update that contact. In order to update a contact or update any record within the CRM, you actually need to create a map variable that you can send Zoho that has all of the different fields that you're trying to update. In this case, it's only one, so it's fairly easy. But what we're going to do first is we're actually going to go and so we're going to create a map within this if statement here. The map is going to be, we're going to call it update map. We'll just say done. So we have update map, which we created within this contact. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a key. We want to put what? So for this, the contact, we want to update the contact type. So you want to make sure that you grab contact type from the actual contact. It's going to be case sensitive, space sensitive. You know, any characters within this name you're going to need within the map that you're creating over in the Deluge function. So the key that we're going to place in there is going to be contact type. We're going to put this in quotes. And the value that we want to place in there is going to be customer, because we want the contact type to become customer here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in quotes, type customer, click done, and there we have our map. Just to make sure everything's working, we're going to save and execute script, make sure we don't get any errors, and then continue our programming here. So what we want to do now, we have all of this information. Now we want to actually update the contact. So here we have our map, and we have created the values that we wanted within the map. The only thing left to do is to pass that map to Zoho to update the contact. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to call another function under miscellaneous here, place it within this loop, and we're going to call Zoho CRM. The function is going to be update record. It's going to give us all the different items we need to update. We can select contacts. The ID, this is going to be the tricky part, and I've actually grabbed a past instance of this so I can show you. We want the contact information, or we want the contact ID specifically. So we get this within the map. So what we can do here is we can say in contacts, we know that within our function we said for each contact in contacts. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to use a get function, and it gets a map variable. A map variable is what this is, contact ID here. So what we're going to do is we're going to type contact dot get, and we're going to get the contact ID, and that's going to give us the contact ID within this map here. The values, the map that we want to pass in actually is the one that we just created. We want to pass in the update map. The response variable is what we want to get back. So we want to say, if we want to see, okay, was it a successful update? Did something go wrong? That's where this information is going to be held. So we're going to say update response, and we're going to save. Make sure that everything's working here. Looks like it is. One more thing I want to do in here just to see if everything is working or not working. What we want to do is we want to info this update response each time it runs through here. So we're going to put this info statement. So what we're going to do is now we're doing an info of the contacts. We want each specific contact. We want actually the update map is what we want in that info. So now what's going to happen is we're going to get all of the related contacts, which you see right here. We're going to info that, so we're actually going to see what we got back. We're going to loop through all of those contacts. For each of those contacts, what we're going to do while we're in this loop is we're going to create an update map. The update map has a key of contact type equals customer, and we're going to send contact type equals customer to the to Zoho CRM, so it updates the record as we're getting our contact ID from the current contact. Notice it says contact.get, contact right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test this out. Let's see if it works. So we're going to go to our script, and we are going to say account ID. We're going to have to go back and get that again. Go to Cloudbakers here, grab the account ID. Let's go back to the contact. We know that our contact type does not exist here. We put in our account ID, excuse me, here. We submit. See how it works? It spits back a bunch of information here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our contact, and let's see if it worked. You may have to refresh the page. And our contact type is now customer. Let's go and make sure that worked for all of them. We go back into Cloudbakers here, and we go scroll down to the other contact. We had two contacts within there, both contact type customer. Awesome. So this worked for the initial one. Now we need to push this into an actual workflow so that we can have this run every time we update a potential. So I'm going to change both of these contacts back to no contact type, so you can see here how this is going to work. So now we just need to create the rule. We have the custom function. I'm going to close this. I'm going to save. Make sure we have the custom function within here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a workflow rule. Workflow rule is going to be based on potentials. Let's say update customer, update contact type to customer, and we'll say when a potential is closed won. So based on record action, we're going to go based on edit, or field update of stage, and we're going to make sure that this is, whenever this is met, we're going to run this function. When do we want this to run? Specifically, we don't want it to run when an opportunity is closed lost. We don't want it to run when an opportunity is marked as a lead, or whatever stage other than closed won. So what we're going to do here is we're going to only run this function if the stage is, and let's make sure we got the correct stage. We're going to go into our potential here. We're going to look, what do we have here? So we have closed won delivery. I'm going to make sure that I get the right stage here. Let's mark this one. So now we're going to go back into our rule. Stage is closed won delivery. And now we just have to attach the custom function. So we already created the custom function. You can create the custom functions directly from within creating the workflow. I like to do them separately, just in case something goes wrong. And what we're going to do is, this is the one that we had just created. And we're going to click save. So now the moment of truth, we have to see if our function actually works. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our original custom function here, or our original potential, and we're going to go and we're going to mark the stage as closed won delivery. So when we click save here, first beforehand, what we'll do is we'll make sure that our contacts under Cloud Bakers are both marked as not the contact type of customer. Contact type is not a customer here. So let's go back. Let's save close won delivery. Now we may have to refresh. Let's see if this custom function worked. And our contact type is customer. Let's go make sure that this worked for the other contact associated to Cloud Bakers. Sean, there we go. And customer. So there you have it. There is the first custom function here that will help out with a lot of your daily tasks. Hopefully it will bypass a lot of manual data entry, and you can expand on this with all of your great ideas to help with the CRM and help make things work a little bit faster. If you have any more questions, feel free to check out Cloud Bakers. And we go through and do this on a daily basis. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Good luck.